Does your boat have a name? Hey, I'm Ben. I'm a huge fly fisherman. Welcome back to another episode of Huge Fly Fisherman. Today's video is going to be about how to plan a fishing float on a river that you've never been to before. Do you have a fancy new adventure van with all kinds of crap strapped to the outside and a shiny new pandemic boat that you don't know what to do with? Well, listen up, because I'm going to tell you how to be a rad fly fisher dude that fishes from a float boat. When you're going to go float a new river, there's a lot of logistics involved, and if you're not familiar with it, it can be a little bit tough to navigate at first. That's a nautical joke. A lot of this research can be done by just calling or visiting a fly shop and buying something in return for them giving you information. But sometimes there is no fly shop to call, so I'm going to get you off on the right foot here. Maybe the first thing you want to do is assemble your crew. Who are you gonna float with? You can float and fish by yourself, but it's not ideal because it's kind of hard to row the boat and cast at the same time. You'll probably want one or two other people with you. It helps if you actually like them, and maybe a dog to round things out. Just remember that a big dog is basically like having another person in the boat, and dogs have no issues about getting tangled in your fly line or breaking your rod. You've been warned. After you've got your crew, or maybe before, you're gonna find a river that you wanna float. The river should be suited to your abilities. Is this your first time rowing? You might want to avoid Class 3 rapids. Does the river even have the type of fish that you want to catch? At a certain point far enough downstream, these trout rivers don't have trout in them anymore. They get too hot. Is it winter time? The river might be frozen. That's gonna make things tough. Raise your hand if you've ever shown up to a river to fish somewhere and found it frozen. After you find the river that you want to float, you're gonna need to find access points to get your boat to the water. Typically a boat ramp. There might be a guidebook for the river that you want to float. That's useful. Again, you can call a fly shop. You could use Google or Bing if you're a Tenkara fisherman. If you still can't find any info, you can look at satellite imagery and hunt for boat ramps. That's how I found this one that no one seemed to know about. But don't trust the satellite images 100% because it turns out that this is not actually a boat ramp. I learned that the hard way. This one is a ramp, just for future reference. Typically, you're gonna need 2 boat ramps because the river doesn't go in a circle. You float from one ramp to another one downstream. For me, if I'm looking for a full day float, I wanna go about 7 miles. A shorter stretch will give you more time to recirc holes or get out of the boat and fish or take a nap or whatever. A longer float will give you more water to fish, which is nice. That 7 miles I mentioned is just a rough guideline on western rivers. Maybe the river you're floating is real slow and 7 miles is too far for a day. Maybe it's runoff season and the river is hauling ass and you can do 7 miles in 2 hours. Just for reference, the shortest floats that we do are about 3 miles and the longest are about 15 miles. That's a really long day though. Another thing you'll have to consider is there enough water in the river for you to float it? Some rivers have a short floating season and you can't just go whenever you want. You have to make sure there is enough water. You can check flow rates online, and again, you can call a fly shop to see if that's enough water to get your boat down without getting stuck. Ideally, you don't want to get stuck. So now that you've identified the stretch that you want to float, you're gonna have to figure out your shuttle situation. Again, the river doesn't go in a circle. Lots of rivers have shuttle services that you can hire. A lot of people seem confused by this, so I'll explain it. You leave your truck and a spare key where you put the boat in. Someone from the shuttle service will drive it down to the takeout so it's waiting there for you at the end of the day. Yeah, that's a thing, and it's a convenience that I will happily pay for. Some shuttle services are more reliable than others, so you might want to do some research. Or again, ask the fly shop. Maybe there is no shuttle service where you're floating, or you're just a cheapskate that likes to waste time driving instead of fishing. Well, then you'll have to self-shuttle. There are lots of ways you can pull this off, but basically you'll need 2 vehicles, and the goal is is to have at least one of those vehicles waiting for you at the takeout so you're not stuck there with your thumb hanging out. Maybe you only have one vehicle. You can still float. You can self-shuttle with a dirt bike, a bicycle, hitching, or just asking someone at the takeout for a ride. Be resourceful. You'll figure it out. But planning ahead is good though. You'll also want to check on things like permits or use fees. Some rivers are a free-for-all and you can just go. Other places you'll have to have a permit or maybe pay a parking fee or something like that. And don't complain about it. Those fees go to maintaining the boat ramp and providing a bathroom so you can take a poop after you have your morning coffee. There might be regulations about wearing a PFD. You can call it a life jacket if you want to sound like you don't know what you're doing. Even if the river doesn't have rules about wearing a PFD, it's never a bad idea to just wear it anyway. I can improve on that myself. And just so you know, having your PFD on the back of your seat isn't gonna help you. People say to me all the time, I'll put it on if I need it. Yeah, that's not how it works. If you suddenly need your PFD, you're not in the boat where your PFD is. And I'm not gonna go into all of it now, but please just be safe when you're on the water. Things can go bad in a hurry. Another thing you should be aware of are any laws regarding private land. Are you in Montana where you can float and get out of the boat below the high water mark? Or are you in Colorado where an oil guy from Houston is watching you with his game cameras to make sure you don't touch one of his rocks with your oar? Know where you can and can't get out of the boat or anchor. How about sustenance during your float? Being a rad fly fisher is hard work. You're gonna get hungry and thirsty. One of the great things about fishing from a boat is that you can bring a plethora of beverages and boat snacks. Besides the required beer and fried chicken, you can do mimosas, bloodies, water and Gatorade for the kiddos. Just remember, no glass on the river. For food, Sammys are always good, summer sausage and cheese, leftovers from camping the night before, whatever you like. Or you can impress everyone by bringing a grill and cooking up some burgers. I really should do a whole video about boat snacks, I think. And that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Huge Fly Fisherman. I probably forgot half the stuff I wanted to say, so if you have some good ideas, leave a comment and let us know. Also, if you want some more information, you can check out a video on the same topic by our buddy James from About Trout. It's good stuff. I'll be back as soon as I can with another Huge Fly Fisherman video for you. Until then, keep the dry side up and stay huge. One of my favorite things to do at the boat ramp in the morning is ask all the other boats if they're gonna go up or downstream. That gets some funny looks.